Now, here's the deal. I struggle with imposter syndrome every day, and I have struggled with it my entire career. The imposter syndrome is creeping up, making you look around at everybody else, where you're comparing yourself to their work, convinces you to stop in your tracks. Stacie here, and today we're going to talk about something a little uncomfortable, but I think we all experience it from time to time. It's called imposter syndrome. So I feel like this happens so often to everybody, whether you're an artist, you're a writer, you have a day job, whatever it is. So often we feel like imposters. And what does imposter syndrome actually mean? I think it means that we feel like we're not qualified or good enough to do the work that we feel like we're called to do, right? So I hear it all the time. I see the comments, people feeling like, I want to be an illustrator, I want to be a surface pattern designer, I want to license my art, but I just think my work isn't good enough. Okay? And whenever people feel that way, they start to feel like an imposter. In the back of their head, there's that little imposter syndrome coming up being like, hey, what are you doing here? Why are you working on this? There are people further ahead than you, people doing a better job than you, and we let that imposter voice creep up and shout into our ear until sometimes it's the only voice we're listening to. Now, here's the deal. I struggle with imposter syndrome every day, and I have struggled with it my entire career. And you might think, why would you feel that way, Stacie? You have done a lot of things. How could you feel like an imposter? Well, every time I'm on the cusp of doing something new in my business, something I feel like in my gut I should work on, that little voice pops up, the imposter, and it's trying to tell me, hey, this doesn't feel safe. This thing that you're thinking about doing doesn't feel safe. So to protect you from harm, I'm going to try to convince you not to do this thing because it's risky. The imposter, if you think about it, the imposter syndrome, that voice is not so much like the good angel and the bad angel on your shoulder giving you good advice and bad advice. It's not like that. I believe that imposter syndrome is really coming from a place of self-protection, right? Because the imposter voice that pops up is like, hey, don't do this thing because what if you fail and you feel really bad? How about we just back it all up and not even try at all, right? That's the voice of the imposter, and it's your protector. And your protector wants to keep you from feeling discomfort. And growth, gosh, it's uncomfortable at best. So do you ever feel that way? Like the imposter syndrome is creeping up and the imposter syndrome is making you look around at everybody else where you're comparing yourself to their work? And have you ever felt like maybe you want to learn how to do something, but the road seems so long between where you're starting and where you want to go that the imposter syndrome voice creeps up and just convinces you to stop in your tracks? Y'all, we have to remember that growth is hard. Growth takes time and it doesn't come easy. So when that imposter syndrome kind of creeps up in your head, I want to challenge you to maybe instead of thinking, yes, this voice is accurate, or no, I'm going to ignore this voice, what if instead we sit with it and we think, what is it internally that this imposter is trying to teach me right now? So then you can become appreciative of it, actually. Be thankful that there's a part of you that understands what you're doing is hard and risky. And I think it's a self-preservation thing too. The imposter syndrome comes up because it wants you to survive and not feel discomfort. I want to give you an example of how imposter syndrome has shown up in my life. And I want to give you an example of what it looked like when I first started my business, Gingerbread. So I remember when I wanted to first sell on Etsy, you know the story maybe, art prints on Etsy, nursery art that I created for my daughter, put it on Etsy. Within a few years, it caught on and I had this illustration business. But what is really easy to overlook is the fact that in the beginning, I had no idea which direction I needed to go. If I had let the imposter syndrome keep me from working towards my craft, from developing my artwork, from finding my style, and have been like, you know what, I'm always going to be less than, so I'm not going to try. Man, that would have been a stinker because we wouldn't be here together today, right? Another thing is in those early days, I got to tell you, I put listings out there that did not sell. Lots of listings. I've said this before, but it took me 2 years to really gain traction. It took me months to get my first sale on Etsy, and I was doing all the work that you guys are doing right now. I was making art. I was building, well, I didn't even call it a portfolio back then. It was just my art. I was just making a lot of art. I was trying to put things on Etsy. I didn't have print on demand as an option. So I was like physically making products. I was hole punching things. I was using my sewing machine to bind things together. I mean, it was scrappy. And gosh, if I had let the imposter syndrome be like, hey, Stacie, this is really crafty, not arty. Maybe you shouldn't move forward. Man, I would have missed out on a huge learning experience. And everything that I did taught me something about who I am and where I want to go. So that's an example from my early days, how imposter syndrome used to show up. I'm an online educator, but until 3 years ago, the thought of teaching online scared the poop out of me. I was looking at all these people, these contemporaries with beautiful filming setups. Yes, right now I have a beautiful filming setup, but my first class was filmed using my iPad, propped up on a stack of books in my studio. It was a real balancing act. I did not have anything fancy. I was just going to show up as I was, and I was going to teach because I thought maybe I could help people. But I can't tell you how many times I looked around people who were further ahead than me, more polished than me, had their curriculum down, and honestly didn't talk as much as I did. And I was like, do I even have a place here? Is this even the right move for me? There are so many people who I think are better than me, frankly. Gosh, that's the voice of the imposter coming in and telling me, I have to change. I have to become something else that I'm not, because otherwise I'm not like those guys out there succeeding. And do you know what I realized? I don't have to be anyone else to be a teacher. My experiences that I share, they're enough. And yes, I'm going to get better and better as long as I practice it. It's like a muscle that we're building up, like strengthen, muscle. The more I've taught, the better I think I've gotten. And the hope I have is that the more I teach, the more I can help people. And it gets easier the more you do it. So the voice of the imposter was trying to convince me that maybe, just maybe, I wasn't good enough. So then I had to sit with myself. What am I feeling here, and why is this voice coming to the surface right now? I was afraid of failure. I was afraid of putting myself out on the internet and trying to share about my course and my membership and all these things, and other people judging it and thinking that I was less than because they have seen someone else teach who was stronger than me. And the protector inside of me, the imposter, wanted to prevent me from feeling criticism and prevent me from feeling failure. And so if I had listened to the imposter, I would have stopped teaching. And I'm certainly glad that I didn't, because honestly, the more that I've been involved in this world with teaching, just like when I was doing my Etsy shop at the beginning, the more I got in that world and the more I learned and pivoted and elevated my craft over time, the more fun it got. So y'all, if the imposter is talking to you right now, saying you're not good enough, you're so far away from your goals, I want you to imagine that you're actually on the cusp of something really, really amazing. And you're on the cusp of experiencing fun and joy on the other side of this. So if you'd be so brave in the comments area, and I know this is going to be vulnerable, but would you mind sharing with me how the imposter has been showing up in your life and in your work? Because I want to let you know that that voice is not always the voice that we need to listen to. So let me know what you think about the imposter and imposter syndrome. And I'd really love to read your comments so that we can lift each other up. That's why we have this community. If you're feeling sad or you're feeling like less than, you can share it here. People embrace you and lift you up. And sometimes people on the outside can see you more clearly than you can see yourself. And growth gets you where you want to go. So don't let the imposter get in the way of what's in store. All right, we'll see you later. Bye.